These children represent God. They're the most innocent and like God, and that's why the devil wants to kill them, wants to hurt them. It's always been this way since Pharaoh, and then to Herod, and to now, but more than ever.
You're 7 years old and someone is stroking your it feels good. Right. Even though you don't have a name for what that is, it feels good.
We have a darkness around us right now. We could lose our republic. Are we going to let our children go? And that's a question, and people have to answer. And I think they're onto this. And the way things are going to be done now, it's going to be changed from this point on. There's going to be a new direction in this country.
Buckle up, because what happened on live television that night wasn't just another awkward celebrity moment. It was the beginning of a narrative that suddenly spiraled into something much darker. The cameras were rolling, the audience was watching, and right there under the studio lights, Whoopi Goldberg tried to redirect the conversation. Instead of confronting the storm forming around her name, she pushed the spotlight towards someone else entirely. The move looked calculated, almost desperate. But here's the strange part. The person she tried to drag into the fire wasn't even the one being attacked in that moment. For a brief second, it felt like a lifeline was about to appear. A distraction. A scapegoat. Maybe even a political lightning rod strong enough to pull attention away from her. But the reaction that followed was colder than anyone expected. No one rushed to defend the target. No one jumped in to carry the narrative where she wanted it to go. The room stayed tense. The silence lingered. And suddenly the attempt to redirect the blame didn't look like a clever escape. It looked like the first crack in a much bigger story waiting to unravel.
And dragged. People actually believe that I was with him. It's like, honey, come on.
The difference here is that this isn't rumor, it's paperwork. The kind that doesn't disappear once the cameras turn off. Because while the headlines tried to frame the situation as another internet exaggeration, the actual documents were sitting there in plain sight. Emails, records, lines of text that couldn't be brushed away as gossip. And those records didn't simply mention Whoopi Goldberg in passing. Her name wasn't floating in the background of a news clipping or buried in a casual reference. It appeared inside a direct request, a very specific one. A request that sounded less like coincidence and more like someone asking for a favor. And here's the detail that quietly changes everything. The request wasn't granted. Jeffrey Epstein looked at it and declined. Two simple words that most people skipped right over: no thanks. But the moment Whoopi tried to defend herself publicly, something unexpected happened. In trying to shut down the conversation, she accidentally pushed it open wider. Because behind that small exchange sat a much larger name. A figure whose influence stretched far beyond a daytime talk show chair. A name that seems to appear again and again whenever powerful social circles collide with scandal. Oprah Winfrey. And this time the whispers aren't just speculation. The connections are documented. The paper trail exists. And people who are close to these circles have started saying the quiet parts out loud. To understand how this story grew so quickly, you have to look at the moment the Epstein files surfaced. Thousands of pages. Hundreds of names. Decades of secrets finally laid out in black and white. When those documents dropped, the internet reacted the way it always does, by tearing through every page, searching for threads to pull. Most expected to see politicians, billionaires, maybe even royalty. But very few expected a daytime television panel to appear inside that same web. Yet, that's exactly what surfaced. Whoopi Goldberg's name appearing more than 24 times. Alyssa Farah Griffin mentioned repeatedly. Anna Navarro appearing as well. Suddenly the show that built its entire identity on calling out powerful men was facing questions from the opposite side of the table. And the issue with Whoopi wasn't just that her name existed somewhere in the files. It wasn't a vague association or a distant contact. It came down to a very specific message, a detailed email sent by her own agent directly to Jeffrey Epstein. A message requesting something extremely valuable, access to Epstein's private jet.
Fake list. Yeah. And I'm on it.
So you were on the island?
I was, apparently, I don't know. They said I was on the island. They said, I'm like, I don't go anywhere.
If the story was about a bus, it would be more believable.
Maybe, but it's like, you know, so I'm just going to say, you know, and there's been a lot of stuff recently. I don't know what I've done to anybody, but apparently there are a lot of these kind of sites that are, what do you call them? They're
parody or
they're satire sites.
Oh.
But people don't realize that they can be.
The message itself was impossible to misunderstand. It wasn't vague, and it wasn't subtle. It was a direct communication sent by Whoopi Goldberg's own representative straight to Jeffrey Epstein. The request laid everything out clearly. The destination? Monaco, France. A luxury transatlantic flight that would normally cost well over $50,000 if booked privately. The reason for the trip was framed as noble, a charity function connected to the White Feather Foundation, an organization tied to Julian Lennon. But the real point of the message was simple. They weren't asking for a recommendation. They weren't asking for help arranging travel. They were asking Epstein to provide the plane. For free. Specifically, they wanted access to his Gulfstream jet, one of the most exclusive forms of travel in the world. No fees. No charter cost. Just a favor between powerful people who move in the same rare circles. Now, to be fair, this detail matters. Requesting a favor from someone wealthy isn't the same thing as participating in their crimes. In elite social circles, favors like this happen all the time. Private jets, luxury homes, exclusive access, these things move between powerful people almost like currency. But this is the moment where the story shifts. Because Epstein's response wasn't enthusiastic. It wasn't welcoming. It wasn't even negotiable. It was 2 short words. No thanks. And that tiny rejection carries more weight than most people realize. Jeffrey Epstein built his entire reputation on exchanging favors with influential figures. Access, generosity, travel, donations, those were the tools he used to build leverage with the powerful. Yet when this request crossed his desk, he declined. That small decision quietly reveals something uncomfortable. Even Epstein, a man known for surrounding himself with celebrities, billionaires, and political elites, was selective about the relationships he chose to cultivate. And in this case, Whoopi Goldberg didn't make the list.
Turned me into, I wasn't his girlfriend. I wasn't his friend.
You were too old for him.
I was not only too old, but it was at a time, where this is just not, you used to have facts before you said stuff.
But Trump is on the list 38,000 times.
Well, I can't speak to him, but I'm speaking about me because I'm getting dragged. People actually believe that I was with him. It's like, honey.
14 days. That's how long the silence lasted. For a show that normally has an opinion ready within minutes of a breaking headline, the quiet felt unusual, almost strategic. The View, a program famous for dissecting every controversy the moment it hits the news cycle, suddenly had nothing to say. While the story spread across the internet, while clips and documents circulated through social media, the panel that rarely misses a debate stayed completely silent for 2 full weeks. And when they finally addressed it, the conversation didn't feel spontaneous. Every sentence sounded measured, careful, as if the words had been rehearsed long before the cameras turned on. But the discussion quickly moved beyond Whoopi. Because behind the headlines sat a name far more powerful, a figure who has spent decades crafting one of the most carefully protected images in American media history. Oprah Winfrey. For years, she has represented something bigger than celebrity. Trust. Authority. The kind of cultural influence that turns a television host into the moral voice of an entire generation. When scandals explode, Oprah is often the person brought in to humanize the conversation. And yet, strangely, her name keeps appearing in the background of controversy. Not once. Not twice, but repeatedly across different moments, different stories, and different figures who later became the center of massive public scandals. Again and again, her orbit seems to intersect with some of the most powerful and eventually most exposed people in the entertainment industry. Even Joe Rogan, a commentator known for speaking bluntly, addressed this pattern during one of his discussions. He wasn't accusing Oprah of a crime. In fact, he was careful with his words. But he raised a question that millions of people had already started asking. Why do the same powerful names keep appearing around Jeffrey Epstein's world? And why do those connections always seem to trace back to the same tight circle of influence surrounding one of the darkest scandals in modern history?
Why does Oprah have a relationship with a man who owned baby farms?
I am so tired of Oprah, I really am.
Oprah Winfrey has been the face of a lot of controversy over the years.
We need to have a chat about Oprah.
I met Oprah, I was 15 years old. I was taken by my parent to a house in Simi Valley. She kissed me. She gave me an earphone.
What Rogan pointed out cuts to the heart of the issue. The conversation isn't just about proving someone's guilt. It's about something far more subtle, transparency. It's about whether powerful figures, knowingly or not, use their credibility, their influence, and their public trust to help normalize someone whose reputation should have already been toxic. Because when you dig into the files themselves, the connections start to look less accidental. And this next part isn't speculation. It comes directly from documented correspondence. Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York. Her association with Jeffrey Epstein has been widely reported and confirmed over the years. But she also had a public relationship with Oprah Winfrey. That overlap becomes important when one particular email from the newly surfaced documents comes into focus. According to the records, Sarah Ferguson reached out directly to Epstein before appearing on Oprah's television show. Not after the interview. Before it. Her concern was simple but revealing. She knew that questions about Epstein might come up during the conversation. So instead of preparing her response privately, she contacted Epstein himself to ask what she should say. Read that again slowly. A guest preparing to appear on one of the most watched talk shows in America, consulting Jeffrey Epstein for guidance on how to address questions about him before stepping onto Oprah's stage. And Epstein didn't ignore the request. He responded with suggested language, carefully worded points about how he had supposedly been misunderstood, how he had already paid his debt to society, and how there was nothing more to discuss. In other words, a ready-made narrative. This exchange took place in 2011, years after Epstein's first conviction. Years after the details of his case had already made international headlines. By that point, his name should have been untouchable. Which is why this email stands out. Because it doesn't read like a distant acquaintance asking for casual advice. It reads like coordination. A direct line of communication moving from Epstein's inbox straight toward one of the most influential media platforms in the world. And that raises an uncomfortable question. Whether anyone realized it at the time or not, how close was Epstein's messaging getting to the machinery of Oprah Winfrey's global platform?
And he was with people in which I admired dearly. He was with Naomi Campbell, he had Oprah Winfrey there with him, who entered the room and was swinging off his arm and just seemed like a very dear friend.
Does any of this prove that Oprah herself knew what was happening behind the scenes? No. There is no confirmed evidence showing that she orchestrated anything or had direct knowledge of those communications. But the situation raises a question that mainstream media rarely seems eager to explore out loud. If those conversations were happening, if those narratives were being shaped before appearing on one of the largest talk platforms in the world, then who exactly was guiding the message and why? And this is the moment where the story begins to expand far beyond Whoopi Goldberg's awkward email request. Because once Oprah's name enters the conversation, the timeline suddenly stretches across decades of Hollywood power networks. Over the years, she has moved within the same elite social and professional circles as several men who later became some of the most infamous figures in the entertainment industry. Names like Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, and Sean Diddy Combs. At different points in time, each of them occupied the highest levels of celebrity culture. They were powerful, celebrated, and surrounded by the kind of reputation that opened every door in Hollywood. Their influence extended into film studios, music empires, award shows, and media platforms. And for years, they operated inside those circles without serious public consequences, until the allegations finally surfaced and the stories behind closed doors began collapsing into the open. Of course, simply sharing social spaces with controversial figures doesn't prove wrongdoing. Hollywood is a relatively small ecosystem where powerful people inevitably cross paths. Business deals, charity events, interviews, award ceremonies, these worlds constantly overlap. Proximity alone is not evidence. But when the same powerful circles continue to intersect with scandal again and again, people inevitably begin asking harder questions about how those networks actually function behind the curtain.
I can name 6 names. One of them who is still very powerful today.
I always blamed myself. Even though intellectually I would say to other kids, I would speak to people and say, oh, the child is never to blame. You're never responsible for station in your life. I still believed I was responsible somehow, that I was a bad girl. Do you not want to have sex until you're married? Is that it?
That's the way right now, that's what I feel. I mean, I was sort of brought up thinking that way, and I feel strongly about that. I feel
when you do have...
What makes this chapter of the story even stranger is the way Whoopi Goldberg responded once the pressure started closing in. After her name surfaced in the Epstein files and the backlash exploded online, many people expected the usual celebrity playbook, an apology, a legal statement, maybe even silence until the storm passed. But that isn't what happened. Instead, it looked like she flipped the entire board over. Rather than quietly defending herself, Whoopi reportedly began pointing the spotlight somewhere else entirely. According to the claims now circulating, she suggested that Beyoncé wasn't just loosely connected to powerful Hollywood circles, she may have been deeply involved in them. The accusations were explosive, allegations of celebrities being manipulated, private leverage being used behind the scenes, and sensitive information allegedly kept as insurance against anyone who might step out of line. And the detail that made the situation even more shocking? Whoopi supposedly claimed she had proof. Not rumors. Not whispers from anonymous sources. Actual recordings. Suddenly, moments in the entertainment industry that once seemed harmless began to look different through that lens. award show speeches that felt strangely emotional, celebrity careers that collapsed overnight without explanation, lawsuits that appeared in headlines one day and vanished almost immediately the next. Even business ventures linked to major stars that seemed to keep operating despite weak numbers on paper. Then another name started floating through the conversation as well, Diddy, tying together a series of rumors that some believe connect multiple powerful figures inside the same network of influence. Which leads to the question people are now debating. Is Whoopi exposing a hidden power structure inside Hollywood? Or is she simply trying to redirect the spotlight away from the fact that her own name appeared in the Epstein files? Because one thing is clear, Whoopi isn't stepping away quietly. Reports suggest that after being suspended from The View following the controversy, she didn't retreat. Instead, it looked like she was preparing to drag the entire conversation into deeper territory. And the irony makes the situation even more complicated. Not long ago, the hosts of The View, including Whoopi, were among the loudest voices demanding that authorities release the full Epstein list. They pushed publicly for transparency, insisting the public deserved to know every name connected to the scandal. But once her own name started circulating inside those same documents, the tone seemed to shift. On the next broadcast, Whoopi pushed back hard against the story, claiming the situation was being twisted to make it look like she had a personal relationship with Epstein. At one point, she even denied being close to him in any way, dismissing the entire controversy as internet exaggeration. Yet that explanation only fueled curiosity. Because once viewers began digging into the documents themselves, they quickly discovered something uncomfortable. Her name was, in fact, there. The moment that realization spread online, the earlier denial suddenly looked less like confusion and more like damage control. According to the records, the reference involved a request connected to Epstein's private aircraft for a trip from the United States to Monaco. Supporters of Whoopi argue that the situation has been exaggerated, pointing out that requesting a flight isn't the same as taking one. Her explanation on The View emphasized that the trip never actually happened and that the story was being taken out of context. But critics weren't convinced. After all, Hollywood is full of wealthy figures who own private planes or charter them daily. Access to luxury travel isn't rare in that world. So many people began asking the obvious question. If there were countless other aircraft available, why request Epstein's plane at all? Especially considering the timing. The request reportedly happened years after Epstein had already faced serious criminal charges related to minors, a case that many people inside the industry were fully aware of. The controversy only grew louder from there. Between the suspension, the online criticism, and the mounting pressure from media coverage, Whoopi suddenly found herself in the middle of a storm that wasn't going away. And now, rather than quietly weathering the backlash, she appears to be escalating the fight. Because by bringing Beyoncé into the conversation, one of the most powerful and protected names in entertainment, the entire narrative shifts. Attention moves away from Whoopi and lands squarely on someone else.
Next, I'm going to release a documentary about Beyoncé and Jay-Z. Beyoncé used to go to Epstein Island and even perform sacrifices. I wasn't going to release all this, but since the Epstein files leaked on their own, I'll spill everything too. Beyoncé and Jay-Z are even worse than Diddy.
But hang up. Wait a minute. Because Whoopi has much more fangs than merely stating that Beyoncé was acquainted with Epstein. Because according to her, Beyoncé was somewhat of a handler. Everybody knows the story that's been going around about Jay-Z manipulating Beyoncé and how Beyoncé is just an innocent lady, right? Well, Whoopi is claiming that's BS since according to her, she reportedly has proof of Beyoncé blackmailing stars on the Epstein list. Yeah, everybody knows how stars constantly seem to pay tribute to Bey, right? Don't get me wrong, she's an icon in her own right, but fans have pointed out how bizarre it is that other stars appear to revere her. It's almost like they have to apologize to her anytime they win an honor over her. Like the time Adele made her Grammy triumph all about Beyoncé.
We accept this award, and I'm very humbled and I'm very grateful and gracious, but my artist of my life is Beyoncé, and this album for me, the Lemonade album, was just so monumental. Beyoncé, it was so monumental.
But as insiders have alleged throughout the years, it is definitely more about fear and intimidation. Everybody knows how her former bodyguard exposed her for terminating Carrie Hilson's career, right?
Beyoncé, how you guys ended Carrie Hilson's career because she said something about you. That's how hateful you guys are. How you step on anybody.
Interestingly enough, the bodyguard fell unexpectedly under suspicious circumstances not long after exposing some of the more ominous revelations regarding Beyoncé and Jay-Z. And now Whoopi is claiming that it goes much beyond that. Allegedly, not only was Beyoncé somehow in the mix, but she also has videos on the stars who were involved and keeps them in line. And that's not everything, because according to Whoopi, it didn't start today. Allegedly, Beyoncé has also blackmailed others on the Diddy list. And the one time she was mentioned in a lawsuit, she handled it pretty swiftly and her name was withdrawn from the case in less than 2 business days. The complaint was brought by a man called Joseph Manzaro, and he alleged that he was drugged, transferred without his will, and sexually mutilated as a victim of a coercive and organized criminal business. He said that in April 2015, he lost consciousness after feeling a greasy material like Vaseline when he entered the front entrance to his residence. After that, he claims he was transferred to another property where an associate of Combs reportedly informed him that the music mogul wanted him brought to a freak-off event. He stated that when he recovered consciousness, he found himself in the center of a party that was already in full flow. The complaint claims Jay-Z and Beyoncé Knowles Carter were sitting in a room and upon seeing Manzaro, Beyoncé Knowles Carter reportedly questioned, "What's this? What's this all about? Why is this half-naked white dude with a pea mask standing right here in front of me?" So, it turns out that Beyoncé has been handling things behind the scenes for a very long time. But wait, because it gets much more awful. See, Whoopi Goldberg is now saying that Beyoncé's companies are apparently merely fronts for laundering the money she earns from blackmailing celebrities. And now fans are putting 2 and 2 together, and it's beginning to make sense. Now, Beyoncé has always appeared to have companies that were officially losing money on paper for years, but yet they stayed operating for a long, like the brand she had with her mother, House of Darien. You remember House of Darien, right? Well, it was evident that nobody was buying it after the first buzz. Yet, nonetheless, the company continued functioning. And let's not forget the scenario with Ivy Park and Adidas and how it was a tremendous failure. But still, it continued running for years, drop after drop, even though it was evident that it was not lucrative. According to an in-depth examination by the Wall Street Journal, Ivy Park sales plummeted over 50% and only pulled in around $40 million in 2022. Now, this may sound like a lot of money, and it is, but it falls significantly below the predicted range from Adidas. The journal stated that sales of Ivy Park plummeted by more than 50% to approximately $40 million in 2022, coming in below Adidas's internal forecasts of $250 million in sales that year, according to papers examined by the Wall Street Journal. This implies that the brand lost more than $200 million from plummeting sales. But Whoopi is now stating that this is all a bundle of BS. Allegedly, Ivy Park achieved less than $3 million in sales since the only individuals wearing the brand were stars who received PR packages. In actuality, people weren't buying it. And the only reason Beyoncé kept it running so long was because she needed a front to tidy the money she acquired from blackmailing dodgy celebs, all reportedly. But here is when Whoopi reportedly got real brazen, since it appears like she has a recording that apparently indicates that Beyoncé has been engaged in semantics. You remember when a lawyer called Ariel Mitchell Kidd stated that she was supposedly approached by a client who wanted to assist her broker the sale of a video starring one of the most popular stars in the business. Right. Well, Ariel said that the celebrity was obviously not aware that they were being videotaped.
I was just recently contacted by someone who wanted me to essentially represent them in the sale of one of the Diddy tapes. So, which I declined that because, but one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of and to contact the person who was in the video to see if they were interested in purchasing the video before it became a public. Oh, I can't explain who the person was, but Mr. Mr. Combs was in the tape and this other person is, I would venture to say, more high profile than Mr. Combs. Really? Really? Let me see. Feels of the video. Okay. You can verify that it exists, that it's real, that the other person in the video is very visible. It's no question if it's that person in the video, and I can tell the video is practical.
Rumors circulating through industry circles suggest that Whoopi may actually have the tape in her possession, allegedly obtained as a form of leverage. No one can confirm whether Beyoncé ever truly tried to pressure or threaten her, but some believe Whoopi secured the recording simply as protection, a safeguard in case the spotlight ever shifted toward her. Now critics are saying something very different, that the tape might be used to throw Beyoncé directly into the fire and pull attention away from the fact that Whoopi's own name surfaced in the Epstein files. If even a fraction of that speculation is true, it paints a very messy picture of how power moves behind the scenes in Hollywood. And according to insiders watching this unfold, Whoopi Goldberg isn't finished revealing things just yet.